Hey, so I'm going to show you how Django talks to models, or how Django interacts with the database. This is a more beginner-oriented video, and I just kind of want to discuss, okay, I've started a new Django project. It needs to talk to the database. How does that work? So what I'm going to discuss today is, I'll write this down, models. I'm going to discuss the ORM, or Object-relational mapper, and we're also going to discuss migrations. Will it be able to understand my pretty G? Let's hope. Yeah, excellent. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to switch from this weird thing to VS Code. So right here, I've kind of started a new project. It just has a new dev site. It has 0 apps. Okay, so I'm going to create a Django website that is a database of the different Python core developers. This is kind of based on, I actually did a project in undergrad. I think I was like second or third year, where some prof had hired me to make a website that was like a database of researchers in a particular field. So this is my implementation of it. Now understanding how Django works, I did that application in PHP way back in the old days of just, you know, spitting out HTML while also doing a DB, like iterating over a DB cursor. Bad old days, bad old times. Now I'm going to show you how to do that same project that I did way back in the day, but in Django. So, let's, actually, I switched to VS Code, but really what I wanted to do is get the context, okay? So, what I want to store is the name of a Python dev, right? So that's going to store their name and when they joined. And we're going to keep it simple for now, but eventually we're going to do their specialty. And then we're going to link these two together. And then we'll be able to search for Python devs based on their name, based on when they joined, and also their specialty. And that's just going to have a title, their specialty. Okay. So the idea is that there are developers. These are people that worked on Python. And we're going to store their names into this database. And we're going to have a table that looks something like this. Yeah, so let's get started. So, to actually make this app, let's create an application first. So in the terminal, I'm going to do Python. No, actually, before I do that, pip. No, wait. Hold on. Source.dnv bin activate. Cool. Now we can do Python 3 manage.py start app, and our app will be called devdb because it's the core dev database, and we are going to store that in apps/devdb. Oh, whoops. Let's make the folder first and then make that. Okay, cool. So what that accomplished is now we have a thing called devdb. It created all these wacky migrations, which we're just going to ignore for now. We'll get to that later. Apps, models, admin. So how do we actually add data to our app? So how do we add data to our site? Let's actually make this take up the whole space. Okay, so in order to add data in Django, in order to store data, we need to create a model. And to create a model, you define a class. So my class is going to be called developer. It implements models.model, I believe. Did I do that right? I hope I did that right. And then we just declare which fields it's going to have. So a developer has a name. So models dot, I'm freaked out that I don't have autocorrect right now. Oh, okay, there's my autocorrect. Cool. So this is just going to be a car field. They always want a max length. And our max length is going to be 128. Sure, whatever. Cool. And then joined is going to be equal to models dot date. Yeah, date field. Cool. And I don't think I need anything there. Cool. So, right now we can go ahead, we can run our server and find that it's going to complain about this 18 unapplied migrations. Type python manage.py migrate to apply them. And for you might look at that message and be like, okay, it's complaining, I'll just do what it says and deal with it. But we're gonna understand why it's complaining, what that message pops up. So running migrations, applying, blah, 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 blah. And it looks like, what are all these things? Where did all these things come from? Well, if you look at their names, right? Running migrations, content types, auth, admin, auth, sessions. And then you look at your settings.py file, you'll notice if you go into installed apps, they're coming from over here, right? And not all of the installed apps have a migration, but many of them do, like admin, auth, sessions, content types for some reason. These all have migrations. So again, I will explain what a migration is in a second, but before we do that, let's do a few more things, right? So I'm just going to say, I'm going to register my model here. So from models import developer, and then admin dot register developer. Okay, that's just going to make it so that when we launch the server, let's do run server, Python 3 manage run server. So what that's going to do is it's going to add it into our admin interface, which hopefully I've added here. Yes, I have. And if we go into our URLs, we have the admin. So I should be able to pop into a browser. We are running on localhost 8000. Yes. All right, localhost 8000, the Django web framework. Let's go to admin. Login. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot something. Oh hey, VS Code will automatically source my VM. That's awesome. I didn't actually know VS Code does that. I use Vim on the command line for the most part. And this is a new feature. Okay, so, what we want to do is Python 3, manage.py, create super user. This is just because I'm doing this for the very first time. Like this is a brand new app, or this is a brand new Django site. So we'll create super user. I'll call myself admin. My email address will be nobody@example.com because again, I'm not planning on publishing this app. My password will be A. It will complain to me that the password's too short, but I can override that. Whatever, super user created successfully. Okay, cool. So admin, A, login. Change your... So Chrome is upset about my password. It seems to have been breached, but that's okay. So, so what we'll see here is that our model isn't here, right? We should have something that says developer. It should be here, right? But Django administration is telling me otherwise. Why is that? Well, remember that migrations thing? Okay, now we can start talking about it. So we have our models, right? It's just a class we've declared a few fields, right? But this thing, our db.sqlite, right? It's a SQL database. So you might have heard that, okay, Django uses this SQL stuff, right, to store its data. But if you've developed even a little bit of a Django app, you've probably never touched a line of SQL. I mean, you certainly can, but usually you don't. You usually don't write SQL. Something else is doing that. What is that something else? Well, Django has something called an object-relational mapper, or an ORM. So like if you Google Django ORM, like it will give you all kinds of things like Django documentation and like what is happening with the Django ORM. So the role of Django's ORM, let me start getting drawing here. So let's go over here. Cool. So the goal of the Django ORM, or of any ORM, frankly, right, is to translate from, our object-oriented way, so class dev, right, name equals, I'll just do string, joined equals date, right? So this is our object view. It's the object-oriented programming that we're used to dealing with in Python. So we are going to match that up with SQL, right? Create table dev, right? Name varchar joined date. So this is our relational model, right? There are two different ways of looking at data. There's two different ways of organizing data and considering how data is structured in a computer. Let's add that AL. The relational model is like there's a bunch of math behind it. People like figured it out in the 1970s, and then they created SQL, I believe, to be a way of interacting with the relational model, of storing and maintaining and really keeping consistent data. They really cared about the consistency of the data, and that data wouldn't be lost, and that there would be a system that would always maintain the data, just right. And that's called the relational model. But when we program things, when we write code in Python, in JavaScript, in Java, C++, we're not used to the relational model. There aren't a whole bunch of like conventional programming languages that operate in the relational model. I've really only seen it in experimental programming languages that organize data in the relational model. So what traditionally people have done is they've written their Python code. So I'm just gonna say this is the Python world and this is the SQL world. So what people have traditionally done is they've written in their Python code, right? SQLite dot execute. I'm doing this wrong. This isn't 100% accurate. And then I would use the triple quotes, right? Select name from dev, right? Where joined greater than And then some people would use these things called parameterized queries where there's like a question mark, but other people who, frankly, it's just a matter of ignorance. Other people would be like plus, you know, my var equals user input, right? They would put my var here. So they would, in Python code, write the SQL query, you know, as a string, and then join things together with strings. But this is very error prone. You're also mixing two languages, like interleaving. Here's a little bit of Python, here's a little bit of SQL, and that's kind of weird. But the other thing is that this stuff right here, I'm just gonna keep circling it because it's really important to note. This stuff is opens you up to what's called an SQL injection attack, which is one of the classic ways to hack your database, to just like destroy your data, to cause havoc. There's, you know, the famous XKCD comic on it, Bobby Tables. It's like the first thing that shows up when you Google, where did you really name your son Robert? Quote, drops table students. And see, that looks like a little bit of SQL code, and that's because it is. Because when you do this, this plus concatenation, oh, my iPad is not responding. There we go. When you do this kind of concatenation stuff, you're opening the door for anybody to write code in there. So we don't do that. Instead, we use the object-relational mapper. Not only does it try to smooth the Python world with the SQL world, you don't actually need to know SQL to use an ORM. Technically, you don't have to know SQL. It's an abstraction, and as with many abstractions, abstractions are flawed. Abstractions can be leaky, and what leaky means is that sometimes you can still tell there's SQL there behind the scenes. Like something will go wrong and you know, it'd be useful to know SQL. It'd be useful to know what's going on beyond, right? Most of your world is happening over in Python, but in reality that's being translated in SQL. So with an ORM, most of the time you're just dealing with Python, but occasionally be useful to know what the SQL is doing behind the scenes. That being said, when I use Django, when I use Django's ORM, I almost never touch SQL unless, like, I have a query that's slow, unless there's like some data operation that's taking a very long time. That's the only time when I'll be like, what's the SQL behind this? So, yeah, let's do this. Let's get back to our code. So we have the db.sqlite3. Let's quickly peek at what's happening in our db.sqlite3. I'm just going to make this a bit bigger over here. Okay, cool. So maybe tables. Yeah. So Django went in, opened our db.sqlite3. It created a whole bunch of tables. You can see all of them have the app name. Again, these apps are coming from the installed apps and settings. Let me get this, right? So we have an admin. We have some tables from Django admin. We have some from auth. Django created all those tables for us. Conspicuously missing from here is our table for developer. Why don't we have the table there? Right? Oh, by the way, just to make it like blatantly obvious what's going on here. Let's do table, oh no, wait. Schema of Django content type. Oh no, there's no schema? How about auth group? Yeah, okay. Wait, hold on. Okay, I just put in a semicolon, didn't like that. Okay, so yeah, you can see like there's SQL here, right? You have this create table statement. If you're familiar with SQL, this will be familiar to you. If you don't know SQL, then you don't know what I'm talking about, and that's okay. There's SQL in the background, and Django is writing it for you, so you don't really truly need to understand it, but it's nice to understand it. So, yeah. Where is my table? Where is my developer table? Well, in order to get that developer table, what we're gonna do is say Python manage.py make migrations, okay? And then optionally you'll do like devdb. Wait, hold on. Have I installed devdb? I may not have installed devdb. Let's do that right now. apps.devdb. Oops, there we go. Put that comma there because I like that comma. Yes. So right now if I do migrate, I believe something will complain. Yeah. Okay. So if I type migrate right now, it'll say your models have changes that are not yet reflected in a migration, so it won't be applied. Run manage.py make migrations to make new migrations, and then rerun manage.py migrate. Okay, so what does this mean? Once again, if we look at our SQLite, we don't have the create table commands for our developer model. What Django is trying to tell us right here in this message, models of changes, is that it hasn't thought of how to turn our class into SQL. So let's tell Django, hey, you should consider turning our model into SQL. So the way to do that is, as Django said, make migrations. You can write it with no arguments, but I'm going to write it with the name of my application, devdb. Migrations for devdb. So that created this file. Can I open the file in the editor? Yes, please. So this is an automatically generated file, 0001 initial.py. Now you might think, hey, this is like an automatically generated file. Do I need to share it with anybody? Can I just like keep it on my computer? Share it, commit it. In fact, I'm gonna do that right now. Git add apps devdb migrations. Yeah. Add, there's probably others. You know what, I'll just do git add apps. Let's do that. and git add devdb site. let's just add everything. Git commit -m added devdb app and model. Sure, that's good. All right, cool. So let's go back to this migration stuff. So Django created this file. It's called a migration. It's called 001 initial. Why are there numbers there? Because we're going to have a lot more migrations coming. There's going to be a lot more files in here that Django will automatically create, and for the most part, we will not have to modify. It just needs to be there. And what it's trying to tell us is that migrations.createModel, so it creates this object that will tell it how to modify the database. So when we write that command, Python 3 manage.py migrate, it will go into this file. It will see, oh, hey, I should create a model that's called developer with these 3 fields. And you can see ID. I never had an ID field here, but, right, models, auto field, auto created, primary tree, serialized, all that kind of stuff. Django will automatically figure out this. It automatically inserted this field because the relational model, if you're familiar with it, you know that you need a primary key, and I did not specify a primary key. So Django made one for me. Thanks, Django. So when I run migrate, what that's going to do is it's going to go into this file. It's going to see create model. It's going to run some SQL for me. So applying all migrations, applying devdb001 initial OK. And now when I go into my SQLite 3, db.sqlite, and if I go to tables, I will now have devdb developer. And if I look at the schema of devdb developer, there we go. Create table if not exists, devdb developer, ID integer not null, primary key auto increment. I wonder where I saw that. Name barcar 128 not null, joined is date not null. Django took, so 3 things happened here. To recap, I wrote my class in Python. It's just normal Python code. Then I wrote Python 3 manage.py, make migrations. Django created this file, which then it's a command that tells it to make a command. This command tells it, hey, I should probably create a table in the SQL. And then when I actually run Python 3 manage.py migrate, it actually does. It actually takes this description and commits it to the database. So we will get into why there's kind of these multiple steps, like why you have to make migrations, then migrate, why can't make migrations and migrate be one step. We'll get to that. But for now, you know that this model, once you create a migration from it, Django figures out how to write the SQL for it using a migration. Cool. So now that we have our model and stuff here, site administration, and let's reload this. Oh, I did something wrong, y'all. Give me a second. Did I do everything right? Do I know how to use Django? I forgot how to register a model with Django. Let's quickly do Django admin register model. It's probably going to give me to the Django admin site. The Django admin app is what they should call it. Okay, whatever. Anyway. Model admin. I swear. Right? From my project, my app, models, import author, admin.site.register. Wait. Really? Okay. Ugh, gross. Ugh. What? Let's try that again. Yes, okay, that worked. Okay, y'all, if you want to register a model, admin.site.register developer. Let's get rid of that comment there. I don't need that comment there. Cool. So, wait for the server to restart. The server restart? Cool. Developers. Developers, developers, developers. Developers, developers, developers. Developers, developers, developers. Developers. Okay, I'm back. So real quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this tab here, disable my OBS preview. Let's add a developer. We're just going to copy paste. Did I delete? No, I didn't. Okay. We're just going to copy paste a few people from here. So I'm going to add Lisa Roach. When did she join? Can I copy paste this like that? Does that work? Save and add another? Yeah, developer object 1 was added Oh, by the way, before I forget, let's fix this. Developer object 1 was added successfully. In order to get that text there to like look nice and pretty, let's go into our models, add a dunder string method, And we're going to return self.name. So Django uses this dunder string method, double underscore string, double underscore, to generate that text up there. So let's reload. Lisa Roach, cool, excellent. Save and add another. Lisa Roach was changed successfully. Cool. I just wanted to fix that real quickly. Let's add Mark Shannon. I'm just going to be editing a few people manually. Save and add another. Let's go way back for Guido. Guido is, I learned his name is pronounced today. All right. Guido. Save and add another. Barry. Yeah, let's add Barry. Maybe we don't want that space there. Save and add another. Do we have Raymond H? We do. All right, let's have Raymond 2001. Save and add another. Who else should we pick on? I know. Marietta. When did she join? 2017. Cool. And then let's add one more person. Yeah, Łukasz. Let's add Łukasz. Save. Cool. So we've added a few developers to our database. Wonderful. Beautiful. Fantastic. Real quick, let's make a view real quick. Okay. Def index request from Django. Okay. I'm just gonna do return render. How does this one work again? Request. Yeah, it takes in the request and then takes the template name, right? Request. The template name is just going to be called index.html, and let's see. And then the context will be developers. Let me remember how Python syntax works. Developers equals from models import developer dot objects all. Give me a second. Yeah, let's add that. Okay, that looks good. We like that. Cool. And I'm sure there's like an easier way to do this, but I'm just gonna do this manually. Templates. The templates, for reasons that didn't make sense to me initially, but do make sense to me unfortunately now, need to be app templates, new file, index.html. Oh, does this? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Can you tell that VS Code is not my normal editor? Ugh. Okay. We can actually do the cool stuff. For developer in developers, let's actually make that dev. Cool. And for tr td dev.name dev dot joined. Did all the code I write do something that works? Hold on, I think I forgot something. Doesn't... okay, I'm too lazy to do that. Okay, so I'm making an app and I'm making a site. Those are two different concepts in Django. Technically, I should have a urls.py in devdb, but I am too lazy to do that right now. So what I'm going to do is do path to slash will be from apps.devdb.views import index. Cool. Index. Did I do everything right? Template does not exist. Cool. That's probably because I meant to say devdb/index.html. That's what I meant to do. Go. Nope, just gotta wait for it to reload. There we go. Name date. No developers. Uh-oh. That would do it. Developers. Alright. Does not need to reload. Okay. Sweet. We did it, y'all. Oh my gosh. Web development. Well, got a dab. Huh. Okay, we did it. Alright. Okay. So we have this awesome website. Check it out. We have a list of developers. Cool. Okay. To get to my point, let's go back over here. What were we doing? Right. Let's look at our database now. So back over. Let's see. Let's have localhost 8000 admin, right? So we have this list of developers. We have our wonderful, just beautifully crafted website that displays them all. Just gorgeous, right? And then we added all this stuff in the database, right? But let's actually see it. Let's actually... no, there we go. So again, there's an object-relational mapper. We have this SQL database, right? Did I actually do something like in SQL? Well, let's check. So just as a reminder, our tables, we have devdb developer. If we look at the schema of devdb developer, it shows us, hey, yeah, create table not exist, devdb developer, all this kind of stuff. So that means, right, since this is SQL, I should be able to select name from devdb developer, and the thing that I should get is this, right, essentially. So let's try it. Helps if I spell devdb right. And there we go. Lisa Roach, Mark Shannon, Guido Van Rossum, Barry Warsaw. All of these entries are right here, right? And of course I could order by, oh geez. Let's move that up. Okay. Order by name ask, right? So how's this ordered? Or desk. Okay, I'm super confused by how this is ordered from that. Maybe, no, I have no idea how that's ordered. Order by ID is just going to be, I do not understand how that is being sorted, but you know, I can do, the point is I can do SQL stuff. The other thing I can do, why did I quit that? I didn't mean to quit that. Is, I mean, I can write raw SQL if I really want to. So insert into devdb developer name. Ooh. Oh, I don't actually want to do an insert. Let's do a delete. Let's delete Raymond. let's get rid of Raymond. Delete from devdb developer. By the way, I'm writing some raw SQL. You should avoid writing raw SQL when dealing with Django databases because of there's this thing called signals, and there's probably other things where Django is trying to, keep a tight grip over what's happening in the Django models. And we're probably breaking some assumption somewhere by directly modifying the data, but I'm going to do it right now because this is going to be a real fun time. Where name equals let's try that again. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. There we go. Where name equals Raymond. Let's do actually like Raymond. I don't like any Raymonds. Alright, so if I reload this, there's no more Raymond, and if I reload this, I also get no Raymonds. Sweet, we did it. Okay. So hopefully I was able to illustrate that the thing in Django, like all the stuff I'm doing in Django, is affecting this SQL database. Cool, we did it. Why do you need migrations? So that's the next step. So what I'm gonna do is, just for now, we're gonna do like, I have a full site technically. Wow, we did it, yay. Okay, so notice how we have all these people, they have first and last names for the most part. What if we actually want to keep track of that? So our website is live, it's still up there, it's still running. I can go to it. I'm gonna have so many visitors per week. It's just gonna be insane. It's gonna be wild. You know what? This is actually starting to make me sad. So pro tip, there's this awesome thing called new.css, that basically is effortless styles. As long as you do everything properly, you can just copy paste this and then it makes your site look pretty. It's pretty sweet. And it has a dark mode. Yeah. Hold on. Header h1 developers. Oh no. Okay, there we go. Boom, 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 boom. Nice. Let's git commit -a actual styles. Okay, now let's continue with our application. Okay, so back to our models. So what if I don't want to just have like a name? I want to have a first name. Let's do the same thing. All right, let's give that 64. And then we also want to have a last name, right? So what that's going to do, we want to store, like for example, Lisa Roach, we'd want to sort by like Roach, Lisa, Shannon, Mark, Guido, Van Rossum, that kind of stuff, right? So let's see, let me think here. This is what I'd like my model to look like, but of course, let's see, let's like make our migration to take our database from the old thing where name was a single field to a new database where name is first name, last name. So make migrations, devdb, right? That's the name of my app. I need to write manage NumPy. All right. You are trying to add a non-nullable field first name to developers without a default. We can't do that. The database needs something populated. Okay, so I forgot how to do this properly. Give me a second. So the first thing we're going to do is make migrations. We're going to pretend I knew what I was doing. Make a devdb one, provide a one-off default now. Our default will be empty. Okay, let me explain what's happening here. It is upset with me because I made a field called first name and a field called last name that are both non-null fields, and they need to, I need to give them some content. So we'll just say empty. So migrations for devdb, remove name from developer, add field first name to developer, add field last name to developer. So if we look at the migration, now I said usually we won't have to look at migrations, but today we're going to look at the migration, right? So our migration is going to remove field, developer, add field, developer, model, first name, last name. What I'm actually going to do is I am going to shuffle this around. So our migration, what it's going to do is it's going to add the field to developer, first name and last name. Cool. The default is going to be this blank, which is going to suck. And then migration remove field, model name, developer, name equals name. Okay, so essentially it's going to add the first name field, the last name field, and delete the name field. But we don't want to lose all the developers we put in our database. We don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do, and this is going to be, let's just dv.sqlite to dv.sqlite dot backup. Let's keep backup for now. Just between you and me. What we want to do is we want to do a Django migration run Python. So essentially I want to take my first name, last name, and turn that into the field. So let me try to explain that again. I want to migrate, right? I want to move from my old data model where name was glommed on as one thing and move it to a new data model where I have a first name and a last name. So what we're going to do is we're going to do migrations dot run Python, right? That's what I want. Yeah, run Python. And it needs a forwards function and reverse function. So my forwards function, I'm going to call it split name, and then my backwards function is going to be join name. Okay, cool. So def join name, let's pass for now, and def split name. Let's pass for now as well. Did I name these right? Okay, so let me try to explain what I'm doing. So we want to add the fields, then we want to do something to convert it into, to convert the old field into the two new fields. So that should be easy, right? We do join name, or sorry, split names is our function for convert name to first name, last name, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So our function, our migration function takes apps, takes the schema editor. Ugh, gross. I don't think I'm going to be touching that, but let's do that. So, developer equals apps.get model from devdb developer. So what I'm doing here is I'm importing the model. I can't do, for example, from models import developer. I can't do that import because, why can't I do that again? Django will be mad. I forget the exact reason, but I think it's because Django isn't initialized yet when this line 4 happens, so I have to do it inside the function to get my model. This is, sorry. This line over here is a safer, sorry, this line is a safer way of doing this. Okay? And I just have to do this in this migrations file thing. So, do I need, oh, I do, oh, I don't need that. Okay. So, what I want to do is for dev in developer.objects.all. So, names equal, so, sorry, what I'm trying to do this is split names into first name, last name. So this is easy, right? You get the dev.name and it's a string, so you split it. Wow, names. So if the length of the names is equal to 2, so, you know, y'all, first name equals, oh, dev.first name, dev.last name equals names. Boom, beautiful, we did it. Else, breakpoint. I'm just gonna put names. Okay, cool. And then dev.save. Cool. And then the opposite, join names. So this is my reverse function. This is if we're unapplying migrations, which frankly, have I ever had to do that? I don't think so, but we're gonna implement it anyway. All right, cool. So because join names is really super easy, right? We can basically copy paste this, split names into first name, last name. This one's super easy. So join names into one field, right? So we get dev.first. So basically dev.name equals first name plus a space plus dev.last name, right? Don't need to do any of that. Dev.save, cool. Join names into one field. Wow, we did it. Cool. So I made a backup of our database. And now what I'm going to do, and I'm really, I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try it. Okay. Manage.py, migrate. Okay, cool. So, you may have noticed that I put breakpoint here. If in this name equals, length names equals 2, right? And the reason for that is because, right, my developer right now, oh, really, developer object 3? That's kind of weird. My developer right now, his name is Guido van Rossum, but his name, right, should be, so let's look at some names, p names. Yeah, so when we did this split, instead of getting 2 names, we got 3 names. So, you know, our database is small enough, we could just do this manually, which is exactly why I put this breakpoint. It got me into the debugger, so I could do things like dev.firstname equal names of 0, dev.lastname equals join names 1, right? Dev.save. And then C to continue. So now we have Marietta. Marietta has a name that I can Google, but we're gonna just say dev.firstname equals names 0, dev.lastname equals blank, and then we have the dev.save, so that's gonna work. Okay, cool. So, if we go back over here, let's do that to induce a reload in the run server. So nervous right now, y'all. I'm so nervous. And go back into the admin interface. Which one of my weird windows had the admin interface? Was it this one? Yeah, cool. So if I look back, oh no, developer object has no attribute name. That's true. It doesn't have an attribute name. Will it still crash if I do this now? Okay. Oh, I know what happened. Okay. It's crashing on this. Let me show y'all a trick. I made a breaking change here where first name and last name is different. But check this out. Okay. We're going to do an at property def name self. Okay. Return. We did this a lot. Self.first name space self.last name. Okay, so what this does is it enables this to work, basically. A property, you know, it looks like a method, it secretly is a method, but you use it like an attribute, attribute, whatever, however you put the stress in that word. It's just, so this allows us to make a backwards compatible thing. Wow, I am good at words. So there we go, it worked. So we still have Łukasz, Nanga, Marietta, Barry Warsaw. It's as if nothing changed, right? Except our entire database schema changed, y'all. See, we have first name Guido, last name Van Rossum. We have Mark, first name Mark, last name Shannon. We have Lisa, first name Lisa, last name Roach. Whoa, right? What happened, right, if we go into our SQLite 3 DB database, I'm so glad we didn't have to touch the backup. I'm so glad. It's almost as if I'm a real developer. Tables, we still have the devdb developer. We go to look at the schema, devdb developer, and we can see it still has that ID field that Django created for us. It still has joined, which used to be the third field, but now it's the second field. But now we have first name, last name, varchar64, just like this. That's my favorite Nintendo console. Right, and if we select all from devdb developer, wow, I consistently make that typo. Right? You can see all the fields are separated in that way. So let's go back here. If we reload the page, it looks exactly the same. It's as if nothing ever changed. But now we can like, you know, have first name, last name, columns in the table, which I'll do just to flex, Oh my gosh, I'm so glad we didn't need to use that backup. Okay, dev apps. We could rename that migration. There's probably a way, let's just migrate to first name, last name. Man, how do you rename migrations? It's time to visit our old friend, Stack Overflow. Django, rename migration. Can I just rename? Yep, you just rename the file. If the rename migration was already apply it again using fake. What? Whoa. I'm learning things. Let's try this. Make a new backup. Okay, so I'm going to rename to number 2. Instead of auto, add first name, last name. Cool. Yep. So this point number 2 about dependencies, I don't have to, let's get these things out of the way. I don't actually have anything that depends on this, but obviously, not obviously, but if I did have a migration that assumed that this migration had already taken place, I can do this. Like I'd have to look at every dependency equals and change that, but I don't have to do that. This is my latest migration, so there's no point in that. So now I'm just gonna say new migration. Wow. And then apply it again using fake. So I'm assuming what that's trying to tell me is to use managed up. Oh, let's clear that. Managed up high, migrate. There's a way to fake migrations. App label migration name. Okay, so fake devdb. I wish I had chosen the smaller name. Yep. Did that paste anything? Yeah, faked. Real quick. Yeah, okay. So something did change in the database. Let's take a tour in the sausage factory, shall we? Yeah. Let's look at the tables. Django migrations. What's Django migrations? What's happening there? Auto increment app. No. Let's just select all from Django migrations. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's cool. Neat. So at this point, my lesson is done. I've taken my developer class. I've created it. It originally had a models car field name equals, one field. We applied it. We created migrations. We saw what that did. And then we split the field into 2 different things and used a little bit of code and a little bit of like breakpoint magic to pop ourselves into the debugger and split fields manually. That was fun. So I've hopefully showed you how Django kind of guards you from using SQL directly, but still ultimately makes use of SQL. Before we go, we do have this web page that has changed literally 0 since I added first name, last name. That's okay. Let's make it more complicated, right? So, so no longer am I going to be doing any database stuff. I'm just purely editing the HTML. And this change is just, you know, gonna be real easy. First name, last name, there we go. It's that simple, right? For dev and developers. You can even do something like, is that a thing? I might be misremembering how Django works, but let's try that. Wow, I did it. That, I don't know if Van Rossum is sorted under V or under R, but either way, maybe not minus last name, maybe just normal last name. Wait for the server to restart. The server has restarted. Reload the page. Ba-boom. We did it. Check it out. All right. We have our developers organized by last name. Marietta does not have a last name. So she goes at the top. But Łukasz, oh, I'm so glad we don't have to sort the Wu and Łukasz. Łukasz Langa goes second because of the L. Lisa Roach, Mark Shannon, Barry Warshaw, Guido Van Rossum. Cool, we did it. So hopefully this video explained how Django interacts with your SQL database. Of course, the other cool thing about abstracting your Python models from the SQL is that like the different SQL vendors, they all have slightly different standards. They all have slightly different ways of doing like syntax or like making specific tables or enabling specific features. Django smooths that out. So right now I'm using SQLite 3 because it's the default. It's really easy to deploy. You don't need like an extra application. But let's say you need to get real web scale and you need to deploy a PostgreSQL database, which is a different database engine. And there's a lot of other database engines, MySQL, MSSQL, there's tons. Django guarded me from that. If I decide to switch to a different database, my data will be destroyed. That's okay. But my app will still run on that different database engine, which is pretty sweet. So that's it. Have a good rest of your day.